Hey guys, Keegan here, 3G's Garage. We got a couple different projects for you today. About a week ago, I was poking around under the hood of my sled, and I noticed that my fan belt felt like a little too loose, like sketchy loose. And I just stuck my finger in there, and obviously this one's good, but I was like, dang, that's too loose. So I was I was just gonna adjust it by taking a shim out of it, and it turns out that the bearings for the fan were completely seized up, and this thing was on the verge of melting down. So, um, you know, obviously you don't want your fan not spinning on a fan-cooled sled. You can see there that's what how egged out the key way got. That's kind of what it's supposed to look like there. So, it was very close to shearing that key, and the fan wouldn't have been spinning with the engine anymore. So I ordered some new old stock Yamaha bearings for it. We're gonna go ahead and replace those today, get this thing put back together. I also am going to be putting a new motor mount on. This one had completely let go. You can see the crack there all the way around. It completely let go, and that was allowing the engine to move like a good bit side to side, messing with belt deflection and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're just gonna jump right into it here and go ahead and replace those fan bearings. So yeah, get to work here. All right, so we're sitting here with the fan shroud that came off of my Mighty SS 540. It's gonna be hard to tell on camera, but stick my mic down by it. Crunchy, and I can't even get more than a half revolution with my fingers, so that's not good. I mean, I think this thing probably would have melted down within the next hour of riding it. So had this one in the basement. I'll get you up close here. So it's two bearings, one on either side, obviously, and I believe I've never replaced these fan bearings before, so I think you have to punch it out from the center, hit on the back of one side of the bearing and punch that one out, and then flip over and rinse and repeat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on that one. Got my new bearings here. Got a killer deal on eBay on those. And this thing should have all the cooling power now. I can only imagine how bad it was struggling to turn that fan before. So I'm going to take my punch, hammer, and just try to work this thing around from the center.
One eternity later.
All right, so after quite a bit of pounding and a little help from our friend Mr. Torch, we got one of them freed up, ready to plop out of there. So here's the one, and then I think the other one should move just as well. Oh, there's a snap ring in there. Bam. Ready for some new bearings now. All right, so I used the heat to get the bearings out, and now I'm going to use the heat to get them back in. The heat expands the metal, makes it a little bit looser of a tolerance to fit those bearings in. You can even chuck the bearings in the freezer, cool them down, compress them, and then heat this up, expand it. You know, these bearings aren't like a super tight press fit anyways. But this just makes the process a little bit easier. You don't have to wail on it with the hammer as much or put a ton of pressure on it in your shop press. It's just dropped right in. And now once that metal cools, it'll that tolerance will become tight again, and it'll be nice and tight in there. So we'll flip it around, do the other side. All right, I'm no expert here, but this came out when I took it apart, so I'm assuming it goes back in. So I showed you that there's a snap ring on the inside that holds the outer race of the bearing in place, both bearings. And then this little washer or spacer holds the inner race in place and kind of helps center everything in there. So once you put the fan back in there, it'll center everything nice, and it keeps the inner races of the bearing from locking up against each other while they're in there. So go ahead and get this guy in there. All right, well, that wasn't as easy as the first one. It didn't just drop in. Probably should have used a little bit more heat, but whatever. They're in there now, and they both spin nice. I got that spacer in the center. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the rest. The old fan was chewed up pretty bad. I don't know. You can see the threads on there are missing as opposed to having them all the way through there. So that's toast. I'm just going to slide this one in. Parts room to the rescue. Yeah, we're going to get my race sled put back together here. All right. So I think first, before I do anything, I'm going to swap these motor mounts. Yeah. It's a surprisingly common failure for these big block fan cooled engines are they just destroy these 40-year-old motor mounts. Who would have thought, you know? So we're going to get that swapped out, and then this one will probably last 2 races, and then we'll swap it out again. Yeah, it's safe to say that that motor mount was shot all the way around, cracked. It was shot to the point where it had, at Junker Sled last year, it had completely loosened the motor mount on this side because the engine was jumping around so bad. So this was pretty much backed off all the way. So the engine was just flopping around in there. Thankfully, it didn't ruin anything. But we're going to put a fresh one on there now and get her back on the track. All right, so we already took a clip of what I'm about to explain, but the mic died, so we're going to record it again. Like I just showed you, this motor mount completely blown out, completely shot. But the old man had a new old stock, fresh out of the bag, motor mount for one of these, kicking around, and he let me have it. So we're going to run that, see how long she lasts. They're pretty easy to install. They got these little tabs here. You just hammer them on the punch. There's an internal nut or whatever on one of the faces, and you just tap it to get it tight, and then the other one just has a nut. I was just thinking that I think we built this sled with this 540 3 years ago now, something like that. Got this motor out of a junkyard SRV, and it has been like rock solid up until now. But, you know, I think we got pretty lucky with this engine. So I'm going to finish bolting this cover back up and then put my ignition back on, starter cup, recoil, and then get all the fan components, and we'll show you how that all works when we get to it. So yeah, we'll catch you in a bit. All right, so we're a little further along in the process here. I got my coil on, starter cup, motor mount, all the fixings. So now we're going to start the process of putting our fan belt back on and getting that shimmed up properly. So you got these two faces here, sandwich the belt together. You can also add shims. It's kind of a trial and error process. You put it together with no shims. It might be too tight. Take it back apart. You throw a shim in there, and you got to find the sweet spot. For those of you that are familiar with old Volkswagens like Bugs and Buses, it's a similar concept for the fan belt on one of those. So I'm gonna put these two shims in there. This can be kind of tricky. We'll see if I can get it on my first go around here. Shims. Try to like pinch this. It's like stuck on there. Yeah. Oh, did that go on there all the way? I think. Yep. I think we got it. All right. Washer, lock washer, nut, in that order. It's like we're building a sandwich. Oops. Then after you get it all put back together and tightened up, just want to roll the engine over and kind of work that belt into its new home. And then I don't really know what the proper deflection is. Camera old man, you want to roll the engine over a little bit if you can. All right, that's good. Tighten this back up. Keep tightening this. So you'll be tightening it. It'll feel like it's all the way, but actually the belt is just kind of trapped in there. So if you roll the engine over, it'll suck the belt back up to where it's supposed to be, and you can get it torqued, properly torqued. If you want to know what the torque spec is on this, don't ask because I don't know. Okay. All right. It's still pretty tight. What do you think? Add another shim. All right, well, we'll cut the camera, repeat the process here, stick another shim in there, and we'll show you the final result here in a little bit. All right, she's looking like a complete machine once again, ready to hit the racetrack. I think we mentioned it in some of the older videos, maybe not even on this channel, but we paid $60 for this sled, this chassis. 80 SS, 60 bones, and that motor mount that we just put in there cost us $40. Now, the sled is a completely different animal than when we bought it with a ton of money put into it, but $60 for the chassis originally, $40 for the motor mount that's on there. I just think that's funny. Also, you might have noticed a shiny little piece of equipment under the hood that is not normally supposed to be in there. We had a 41 millimeter Mikuni laying around and found some jetting speculations online and put it together. That clip, some of you might have seen it if you made it all the way to the end of the video, but the clip at the end of, I believe it was the 80 Exciter revival video, the bonus clip at the end, was the first time that we rode this with this setup, but we never really talked about or said that this thing had a slide carb on it. So yeah, we'll just touch on that. I think we'll fire it up for you here and hear a run. All right, this is take number 3 now. We shot it with our mics on, and it just completely blew out the mics. The sled was too loud, so we'll run it here without the microphone for you. Sounds healthy to me. Plenty of icy cold air coming from that fan too.
All right, guys, I think that'll do it for this one. Thanks a lot for tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. If you know what's going on better than we do, we're not experts by any means, but let us know. Let us know if you like the video. You guys know the drill. So here at Old 3G's Garage, we wait until after the work is done before we crack a beer. So cheers.
Cheers. Yummy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Only the best, too. Hams.
The good stuff.
So thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you. Catch you in the next one.
See you later.
You love the hams, too.